I'd like to bring in now Senior Director of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy Center on Cyber and Technology Innovation, Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery. Admiral, great to see you as always. So we've seen now at least 6 tankers hit in the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices continue to skyrocket. Warnings they could hit $200 a barrel. We know mines have been laid now in the waters in that region. There's been talk of the U.S. Navy escorting tankers for protection. Do you think that happens? Is the U.S. capable of securing that passageway at this point?
Yeah, thanks for asking. And this is a tough issue. I get uncomfortable when the president said we won. We haven't won yet. We're winning. And it's going to take 2 broad lines of effort to open the Gulf and have it under U.S. control for the safe flow of tanker traffic. And the first thing is we have to attrit or significantly degrade the enemy's capacity to strike. That's drones, missiles, mines, and fast attack craft, kind of like the unmanned surface vessels you saw the Ukrainians use. The Iranians have a poor man's version of that. Well, they have an unusual version of that. We got to remove all 4 of those things. I think reasonably that was all part of the 3 to 4 week war plan that Admiral Cooper and General Kane have, which means somewhere between March 21st and March 28th. That's 3 to 4 weeks. You would have achieved that, where you would have gotten rid of all those capabilities. That's number one. Number 2, you then have to have all the forces you need to successfully conduct a transit under that that threat environment. You haven't eliminated the threat environment, but you've reduced it so that what I'm about to describe will work. That's an unblinking eye. That means a constant stare of intelligence surveillance radars on that area, that exactly what you have in your chart there, that exact area being stared at. We have that in place. Number 2, you put up 2 to 4 CAP stations. Those are aircraft stations with F-15s and F-18s with a specific type of counter-drone rocket that we've perfected and has done fantastic when used in Ukraine and here in the Arabian Gulf for shooting down drones. 3, you need to have armed helos to take care of those sea drones that you have listed on the map there. And those can be launched from number 4, which is sufficient number of large surface combatants. They're destroyers. They're known as Arleigh Burke Aegis-class destroyers. And then you're going to need some number to do these transits. My guess is a dozen or more, 12 or more, committed to this mission. That means, and right now we probably have 20 in the total region, and they're committed to other missions. So new ships have to come in. And I would say sometime around March 21st to March 28th, just as you got the enemy Atrida down, we'll have all these capabilities ready, and you can both have the conditions set with the enemy and the conditions set with our own forces that we can successfully control the Straits of Hormuz and safely transit tankers back and forth.
All right, so still a couple of weeks till we could potentially see that happen. And Admiral, okay, so moving on, the new Supreme Leader, as Connell touched on there today, issuing his first statement, says in part that, quote, we still believe in the need for friendship with our neighbors. President Trump, we know, has said he wants unconditional surrender. What do you think we should be looking for in the next few days?
So they have an unusual way of showing friendship, right? These attacks on civilian infrastructures throughout their neighbors. They've had an unusual way of showing it for the last 30 years, where they have attacked, maligned, undermined their neighbors. And then I'm not even talking about their neighbor Israel in that case, where they consider them the little Satan and want to wipe them off the face of the earth. So I take him with a grain of salt. I think he's a new version of the old he's just a chip off the block, so to speak. So I would take that with a grain of salt. Look, the president's correct. We need to push this. I will never get total surrender, but what we'll get is the military equivalent, where they have no capability to use drones, to use missiles, to use air power, to use maritime power, to impact their neighbors in a negative way. And when we remove that, and then we signal to China and Russia, do not rearm these guys, we may not get regime change, but we'll get a change in how the regime can operate. And that will make it safer for our Arab partners, for Israel, and for U.S. interests, economic and national security interests in the Middle East.
And as you know, Admiral, there's been so much mixed messaging on the war, from potential timelines to objectives to goals. Yesterday, we heard from the president, but in the same statement, he called it both a war and an excursion. I want to listen to that.
I had to take an excursion, but it's doing well. The market's holding up well. I figured we'd be hit a little bit, but we were hit probably less than I thought, and we'll be back on track in a pretty short while. Prices are coming down very substantially. Oil will be coming down. That's just a matter of war.
All right, so the president there speaking in Cincinnati yesterday, but before he boarded Air Force One, he was asked questions by reporters, and in the very same statement, called it both a war and an excursion. Are you worried, Admiral, that the U.S. risks repeating what happened in Iraq with the war there?
I don't risk that. What I fear is that he prematurely ends this. He's been told by General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and Admiral Cooper, the Central Command commander, that this is a 3 to 4 week air campaign. If we terminate this less than 3 to 4 weeks, we will not have control of the Straits of Hormuz. We will not have eliminated their mine, missile, nuclear, maritime, and aviation programs and air defense programs. And they will be able to rapidly reconstitute those. And the message to every other Arab country, Arabian Gulf country, is the Straits of Hormuz are controlled by Iran. If we continue the war the air campaign to its natural conclusion at the 3 to 4 week point, we will defeat all those things. We will control the Straits of Hormuz. That's what we have to do. It would be really unfortunate and long-term very detrimental to U.S. national security interests that the president terminates this joint U.S.-Israeli air campaign before the military leaders tell him it's done.
Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, really appreciate speaking with you again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.